Introduction to Wellbeing and Managing Stress. Morning everyone, my name is Madhuri. I'm a psychological wellbeing practitioner here at Wellbeing Suffolk. What that means is I've got specific training to work around common mental health difficulty, which includes anxiety, depression and low mood. I also work part of a wider team of professionals trained to work with these current difficulties. Wellbeing Service offers support for people experiencing symptoms of low mood, stress, and anxiety. Our support could be offered in groups, so similar to today, but online, and in one-to-one sessions as well. Most of what we offer is based on a type of therapy called CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, which I will be explaining in a moment's time. The techniques covered today are based on CBT. Also, the Wellbeing Service does offer access to short-term counselling services as well. Not uncommon to have distressing thoughts that life is not worth living, or thoughts of harming yourself. However, if you feel you might act upon such thoughts, it is important to seek support, and here are some services you can reach out to. NHS 111 option 2 has a helpline for all ages in Norfolk and Suffolk who need urgent mental health support. This helpline is available all day and every day. Samaritans are available on 116 123. You can email them, but just be aware that their response time would be different to their helpline number. You can contact your GP to book an emergency appointment as well. And if you are concerned about a young person, you can contact the child line on 0800 1111. Okay, so in today's session, we'll be discussing about anxiety, symptoms of anxiety, and vicious cycle of anxiety. Then finally, around sleep. That'll be the final topic that we'll focus on. In the UK, up to 30% of people who have experienced problems with their heart have reported changes to their mood. Mood changes is very common, including experiences of stress, anxiety, which are very common among those with long-term health conditions. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is an overestimation that something bad is going to happen and underestimating our ability to cope. This could lead to numerous physical symptoms, such as feeling panicked, nervousness, unease, or even sense of dread. Anxiety is almost like an umbrella term. This is when we have experiences of worry. So worrying is that something bad is going to happen, and overestimation in this instance is thinking of the worst case scenario. Stress. Stress is when the demands of the stressor outweighs our coping mechanisms or even our resources. So for example, when we are faced with a difficult situation, we feel we're unable to cope with the demands of the stressor, hence we feel stressed. Panic. It's a sudden surge or intense fear that goes through our physical sort of responses. So, for example, like increased heart rate, laboured breath, shortness, feeling hot or sweaty, or even cold hands. Everyone's experience of stress and anxiety is very different. You may notice physical changes and changes to your thoughts and your behaviour. When we feel nervous, anxious, or stressed, we get loads of physical symptoms. And you may be wondering, why is our body reacting this way? This is our inbuilt survival mechanism called fight, flight, or freeze. The fight or flight response is our body's natural reaction to real or perceived danger. This is how the body prepares to fight or run away when it senses danger. When our fight or flight response is activated, we may experience several different changes to our body, such as increased heart rate. All of these physical responses serve a purpose by mentally and physically preparing us to get ready to deal with any dangers that come our way. This mechanism allows us to become our own action station by allowing us to deal with the danger that we're faced with. The physical symptoms we experience can be really uncomfortable, quite distressing, and can feel very real at times, which can worsen our anxiety. Here are some examples of physical symptoms of anxiety and note how some of these symptoms can overlap with symptoms of your heart condition. Okay, so when we feel anxious, we get stuck in a vicious cycle. This is when the anxiety is affecting you physically, how they're affecting your thinking, and how they're affecting what you are doing differently as a result. When we feel stressed or anxious, we experience unpleasant physical symptoms. This can really make us feel as though something terrible is going to happen and cause us to think differently. So we may start to see threats from all sides, feel anxious about the physical signs of anxiety, predict the worst outcome, and worry too much. We may change our behaviors to avoid certain situations or activities we associate with those feelings. We may avoid those horrible symptoms of anxiety as well. So avoidance could be in the form of places, people, or even activities or decisions. We try and put them off. Perhaps we may avoid certain things that you know will increase your heart rate or remind you of times when you felt unwell. You may perhaps cancel plans in case you don't feel able to cope or experience situations that you're not used to. Escape, for example, leaving places early to go back to your own safety, to be near an exit so that just in case you need to leave, you can leave. We might stop doing things we used to enjoy, not engage in things that are quite meaningful to us because that you used to do before having the cardiac difficulties because you can't do them and how you used to do them. Perhaps you may be used to be part of a running group, but now you're worried about damaging your heart, so you no longer go to that running group. Perhaps you used to go out with your friends for lunch or go to the pub, but due to your worries, you're no longer doing those things. You try and cope by using alcohol, smoking, or stay in your comfort zone. Fidget, bite nails, or pace, or be quite restlessness, or even try and distract yourself. Many people with current or physical or previous long-term health conditions, physical health conditions, or in heart conditions, choose to stop doing activities because of their fear of having those physical symptoms. Okay. So we've learned about anxiety, what it is, how it affects us, but the most key question is, what can we do about it? Okay. Understanding your own vicious cycle. So, what does your cycle look like? Because everyone's experience of anxiety is very different. So, by looking at your own cycle, will be a good starting point at seeing how we can work towards breaking that vicious cycle of anxiety and stress. Here are some practical tools that you can add to your toolbox to help manage symptoms of anxiety. Diaphragmatic breathing looks at retraining your breathing to take more deep breaths. Mindfulness, the struggle to be in the present moment. Mindfulness is a basic human ability to be fully present and aware of where we are, what we are doing, and not overly reactive or become overwhelmed by what is going around us. When we're anxious, it is very much so harder for us to remain in the present moment. So grounding techniques and refocusing strategies, it helps to shift your attention from what is making you feel anxious to your environment by paying attention to your five senses. Slowly building up activity levels. And then finally, sleep tips. Okay, we're going to go through a technique called diaphragmatic breathing. This is a powerful way to reduce stress and anxiety. Most people spend their time, especially when they're stressed, breathing with their chest. When we only breathe with our chest, this reduces the amount of oxygen we're able to take compared to when we breathe with our diaphragm. Our diaphragm is the muscle below the rib cage, which when we take that deep breath, the diaphragm pushes down and your stomach pushes out. In order to breathe with our diaphragm, we want to see our stomach moving in and out. This tells us whether we're really filling our lungs up. So we're going to take our breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, and we want the breath in to be a bit shorter compared to the breath out, just to make sure that we are completely emptying our lungs. So we'll practice this here today. We'll take 3 short breaths with me guiding you through it. First, close your eyes and get into a comfortable position. And notice the level of tension you're currently feeling in your body. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly below the rib cage. Let's take the first inhale through the nose and send the air as low as you can. Okay. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you'll fall into a steady pattern of breathing, continuing to breathe deeply, and notice how the hand on your stomach is rising and falling as you fill your belly and exhale completely out. And as you exhale, allow your body to relax and notice how your body is naturally releasing the little tension with your breath out. This is a simple technique you can use wherever you are and whenever you feel tensed. It may take a little practice, but once it clicks, it definitely does click. If you haven't done relaxation exercise before, you may find that it's a little unnatural and maybe find it a little to sort of switch off. But what you would notice is with practice, it does get easier. The second technique is called progressive muscle relaxation. This is a relaxation technique that can help reduce those physical symptoms of anxiety and help to break that vicious cycle. They help by turning off your fight, flight responses and by slowing your nervous system down. This happens by taking our attention away from things that is causing us to feel stressed or anxious by teaching us a skill which can help activate relaxation. The idea behind progressive muscle relaxation is that we hold stress physically. So when we're stressed, our muscles get tensed. This could be in the form of a painful shoulder, painful neck, or even a tension headache. You may have noticed that your jaw aches in the morning because you've been grinding your teeth during sleep. The tension can make us feel more tired and also make us feel quite irritable. And what progressive muscle relaxation does, it helps us to improve our awareness of where we might be holding the tension in our body. And it does this by reducing the tension by systematically tensing and relaxing those different muscle groups. When we relax different parts of the body, it sends a message to the brain that the threat has passed away and that we are safe. Ideally, practicing this technique every day at a quiet time when you know you won't be disrupted. Some might find it helpful to do it before bedtime, or you may want to do it at the start of the day. The key is finding a time that works well for you. You may wish to set aside about 15 to about half an hour. And just a caveat, this technique is not something you use when you feel anxious or in that moment of time, but it's a skill that you build over time. And with regular practice, the hope is that you'd start to hold less tension in your body, and your body will start to automatically release that tension without you retaining it. Please be cautious if you have a history of muscle spasm, back pains, or other injuries or conditions that may be aggravated by tensing muscles. Please do consult your GP for further guidance. Okay, we're going to practice with one side of our body in order to notice the difference. If you can close your eyes, you can turn your cameras off. And once you've done that, if you can get your breathing into a steady pattern. Okay. Right foot, curl your toes and hold for 10 seconds. And release and notice the difference. Right calf, point your toes towards the sky and hold for 10 seconds. Release and notice that feeling of relaxation. Your upper leg, tightly squeeze your thighs together and hold it for 10 seconds. And release. Your right hand, squeeze it into a fist and hold it for 10 seconds. And release. And notice that difference. The right arm, form a fist and bring it up towards your shoulder. And hold that for 10 seconds. Okay, release. Your right shoulders, hold it up to your ear and hold it for 10 seconds. And release. You should feel a wave of relaxation wash through the whole right side of your body. Stay here and take a few short breaths. And notice the difference between your right and left side of your body. You should notice that your right hand side of the body should feel a little lighter, should feel a bit more airy, and the movement shouldn't be as restricted compared to your left hand side of the body where you've not tensed or relaxed those muscles. The third technique is called grounding technique. The technique helps to shift your attention from your thoughts to your 5 senses. Okay. Firstly, name 5 things you can see. Ask yourself, what are the 5 things I can see around me? And describe them, what you can see. Go into as many details as possible. Name 4 things you can feel. Once again, go into as many details as possible when you are naming the 4 things you can feel. Name 3 things you can hear. What are the tones like? What sort of adjectives would you use to describe them? Name 2 things you can smell. And finally, 1 thing you can taste. There may be activities we are no longer able to do due to our health. In this instance, we can adapt those activities by looking at what values what values did those activities particularly provide us? What were the rewards that we gained from engaging with those activities? So by asking yourself, why does the activity matter to me? Then try and find another activity which will provide the same value and reward system. Okay. For example, Annie used to be an avid reader, but now experiences severe pain. The value she gained from reading was enhancing her general knowledge, and it was a stress reduction. It was an escape from reality. The adaptation here, what she adapted is she set realistic goal and read through a chapter per day. She listened to audiobooks. She only read short stories and short books. So finally, let's focus on sleep. And here are some common sleep difficulties. Difficulty falling asleep, waking too early, sleeping too much, poor quality of sleep. Here are some examples of sleep problems that others have reported. Here are some reasons for poor quality of sleep. But stress plays a big role in poor quality of sleep. Earlier, we spoke about vicious cycle of anxiety. Here is a vicious cycle about sleep. So worrying about getting a good quality of sleep stops us from sleeping. It's that paradoxical intention where we're worrying about a good night's sleep, which would stop us or stop one from getting a good night's sleep. So the person would stay awake due to their anxious feeling. Here are some sleep do's. A pre-sleep wind down, like a routine. Same sleep and wake up time helps us to form an internal clock. Remembering the 8-hour rule is a bit of a myth. So everyone is pretty much different in terms of the amount of sleep they need. Some of us may need as little as 6. Some of us may require 10 hours of sleep. And the amount of time that we require changes throughout our lifetime. And also environmental factors, they also play a part in terms of our sleep. So the light and the sound, they are equally important. Here are some sleeps do nots. Other activities in bed, not advised. Caffeine, we need to slow our nervous system down, and what caffeine does, it speeds things up. So caffeine intake is pretty key. Smoking, alcohol, that's another to watch out for. Exercising in the night time, clock watching, that doesn't help. And finally, napping, that doesn't also help. Okay. Now we've looked at sleep do's and sleep don'ts. We're going to look at a final technique called retraining your sleep. The aim is to change all that by improving your association with your bed as this is a place I sleep. But there's no shortcuts to this technique. You no longer have a bedtime. To improve your chances of getting to sleep, you only head for bed when you definitely feel sleepy. This doesn't matter if that is at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., or even 4 a.m. Or if you don't feel sleepy at all, you don't go to bed. Remember, we're trying to create this association with your bed as a place for sleeping. Commonly, people use their bedrooms for things like watching TV, eating, using their computer. But with retraining your sleep, we must stop doing all of those things. Bedroom is an only place to fall asleep. Without clock watching, if you are still awake in about 25 minutes, get up, go to another room, and remember that the association of bed and sleeping. So we don't want to be there wide awake for any longer than necessary. Now you may want to get up and try perhaps doing some light reading, like flipping through a magazine, but you don't want to do anything that will stimulate your brain too much, like for example going and watching news. That's not something you should be doing. Once you're up, you stay there until you feel tired. When you feel tired, get back into bed and lights out. After 20 minutes, if you're still up and awake, get up and repeat that process, and you keep repeat that process until you do feel sleepy. Even if you've had little or no sleep, make sure that you are early each morning. If you have a lay-in to catch up on the lost sleep, this defeats the objective that we're trying to establish here. So it's important not to fall into the trap of napping during daytime. The intention is to feel very tired by bedtime in order to promote a good night's sleep. This is going to be quite hard, and I do have to agree, it's going to be quite hard initially, because to begin with, we're probably going to deprive ourselves of sleeps, but after a few nights, you'll start to recognize that you are sleeping better and for longer, and your association with your bedroom will take that positive turn, and your sleep would have improved by that point. So what's next? You can receive support from the Wellbeing Service to help manage symptoms of anxiety, stress and low mood. If you wish to seek our support, you can refer online, or you can call the service and our lovely admin team will be able to help you, or you can refer through your GP. Here are some of the support that we offer within the Wellbeing Service. We have a range of online webinars that are available on demand that you can watch anytime, anywhere that you wish to. And as I mentioned earlier, the psychological support that we use within the service is CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. It pretty much works by looking at how we can react differently to our thoughts and our feelings, and how changing the way we behave can help us feel better within ourselves. And with CBT, the aim of CBT is to help deal with your overwhelming problems in a more of a positive way by breaking that cycle down and breaking them into smaller parts. Here is a 6 weeks online course about living well with physical health problem, and here is the content that will be covered in that 6 weeks program. Okay. We have peer mentors who have lived experience of mental health difficulties and have been through recovery, and they are happy to share their recovery journey, help find out what recovery looks like for you. So if you wish to seek their support, that's something that we can definitely arrange. We also have an in-house employment advisors who can help address any barriers you may face in relation to work or return to work, or any in terms of any of the difficulties you may have with regards to work and employment. And finally, thank you for attending the session, and hope you will find it helpful and beneficial. Have a lovely day.